primetime Poulton, keep it entertaining. You already knowin', outworking everybody and he don't ever quit. Talking about plenty comics like Graveyard Shift, Sea Dogs, Fighting Wolf, U.S. Assassin, doing just what he loves. This is his passion. Bring more value to your dollar. No, I'm not frontin'. That's how just a writer became a moral compass. This is primetime Poulton. This is primetime Poulton. Let's go.
Yo, what's up, guys? Happy Wednesday. You know what that means. It's the Moral Compass, Cowboy Phil McNulty, and we're the LaPod Gods. And we're talking WWE Raw and NXT. It's our favorite time of the week.
If you're in the middle, if you need to pick me up for the rest of the week, just know that the weekend is near and WWE is terrible.
I was thinking about NXT today, and you know what NXT has become? WWECW. If you remember when they revived ECW, and you had all these new ECW guys like Elijah Burke, Matt Stryker, Marcus Corvon.
Sheamus was part of that. Zack Ryder was part of that.
There was some bright spots, but basically these new ECW guys were killing off all your legends. And soon, like, it started with a lot of ECW regulars on the show, and slowly they would start to disappear. And this is what's happening with NXT. I mean, we'll get into it more, but the ratings on the wall. These new guys are taking out our NXT favorites.
The opening match alone will tell you everything you need to know for what was going to follow for the rest of that day.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Nicholas Gear here. What's up, Nicholas? Thanks for joining us. Before we get into wrestling talk, though, I was on Indie Volt last night talking U.S. Assassin 3, talking about Roddy Piper appearing in U.S. Assassin 4. And while I was on the show, we went over $45,000. Absolutely amazing.
Fantastic.
Thanks so much to everyone who has supported this book. The support is just blowing me and Mike away. Books arrive next week, Phil. Can you believe it?
Fastest turnaround in CG.
Absolutely. In a world of uncertainty, there is one certain thing, and that's the Moral Compass delivers. And while I was on Indie Volt, it occurred to me, like, I don't go on these shows as Mark Poulton. I go on as the Moral Compass, and everyone just accepts that. It's so weird. What a difference a year makes.
Now, and they got to know that's like your shtick, right?
Yeah, everyone just accepts it.
You just pop up.
Yeah, you see TMC comments in the chat. You see little compass symbols in the chat. It's very cool. But a little more U.S. Assassin news. Let me see if I can bring this up. It's getting colder out, Phil, and you should be prepared. And what better way to be prepared than in your very own U.S. Assassin hoodie, available on graveyardshiftmerch.com. This is only a view of the front, but it has the U.S. Assassin logo on the sleeve. On the back is some beautiful Ron Wagner, G.I. Joe legend artwork of U.S. Assassin Slither and the Mercenary, inked by his student and U.S. Assassin co-creator Mike McMahon. Absolutely awesome. I have one of these hoodies. My whole family has these hoodies. Very comfortable. And with the weather getting colder, you're going to want to be warm and be fashionable.
And representing the hottest property.
Absolutely. U.S. Assassin 1 did $5,000 on Indiegogo. U.S. Assassin 2 did $16,000. And now U.S. Assassin 3 has done $45,000. The book just keeps growing and growing. It's absolutely amazing. But now let's get into something not so amazing. And that's WWE Raw. Although, I'm going to say the ending of Raw, absolutely fantastic.
For people who haven't been tuning into Raw lately, and they've been coming to our show because we watch it, so they don't have to. We've been actually sort of saying, you know what, Raw's improved a great deal, and their storylines started to pick up, and it felt like for people who are like, you know what, I'm going to trust the pod gods and turn in to WWE this week. They probably didn't make it to the ending, which was the only redeeming point of the episode.
The hottest rising superstar on the WWE roster right now. We'll get into that though. But the thing is, the reason WWE is becoming better, they have to out of necessity, or their stars are going to just leave and go to AEW or somewhere else, because now there's some competition out there.
Yeah, we saw Full Gear. It was great. New blood with Hangman being the champion. So AEW is always doing something at the end of their pay-per-views to sort of get lapsed fans tuning into the product again. So it feels like WWE is sort of trying their best after the heels of every AEW pay-per-view.
Yeah, and you weren't with me when I did the Full Gear recap, but how about Jay Lethal is now All Elite?
Right. So they're just giving you all the... And I think we're seeing where the veterans are going there because they know what their role is going to be. They can either be like a Christian who sort of just wavers, or they could be an Eddie Kingston where he's getting top-notch storyline. So if you're Jay Lethal, you know that you're probably just going to be there to be a guy to put over younger talent. But if lightning, strikes, you could see yourself in the main event.
Yeah, I think they have more faith in the creative there than WWE, where if Jay Lethal went to WWE, he would be repackaged as someone else. He wouldn't be Jay Lethal.
They always want to market to the WWE brand, and by doing so, you're killing the ill will. You're killing all this like goodwill that you would have with stars coming in, because they've made a name for themselves and they have a fan base. It's different from the Attitude Era when we had to watch VHS tapes and we saw people go through the promotion. But now when we're in an age where you can just see everything on Google, right? You can go on YouTube. You can catch all these guys who are traveling the country because it's a lot easier to travel now. Like, you have the opportunity to bring those fans in, and WWE is just not doing it.
Yeah, you would never get on a WWE show, oh my God, I can't believe he's here. It's Jay Lethal.
Right. Is this who I think it is?
Yeah. I guess the last time that happened was AJ Styles. And I mean, you had to do that. Like that.
Yeah.
If you repackaged AJ Styles, that would have been the biggest bonehead move ever. He wouldn't have even came there if they repackaged him.
Right.
All right, so let's get into Raw. Raw kicks off with Big E. He's coming out. He calls out Kevin Owens, and Owens, he is mad at Big E. You should have accepted his apology. Big E blocked him last week from getting into the ring, so he got counted out and lost his match to Seth Rollins. And he says, he's not sorry for what he's about to do because Big E brought this on. And Big E chases after him, and the Usos come out, and the Usos beat down KO. Riddle comes out to make the save, and then you get Seth Rollins out here, and we get a tag team match. Big E and Riddle versus the Usos. Seth Rollins out by ringside doing commentary. And eventually he gets involved, and Randy Orton comes out. And then we get another tag team match, 6-man match with Orton, Riddle, Big E against the Usos and Seth Rollins. Thoughts on all this?
They don't want to overwork Roman, so it's a way to continue this Big E feud with the Bloodline when they have their champion versus champion match. It looks like they're going. When it comes to Big E and Roman Reigns. And this is just a way to keep the Bloodline sent for you guys to remember. And here's Seth Rollins. He's going to be in this match coming up later, even if there's going to be a triple threat afterwards. So it's really just saying we have a lot of stuff going on here, and we're just going to throw it to the wall and hope people enjoy it.
And Riddle and Orton are facing the Usos at Survivor Series.
Mhm.
Maybe the most poorly built Survivor Series ever, as we're still getting changes to the team, and the event is this Sunday.
Listen, the draft may have only been 3 weeks away, 3 weeks ago, but brand loyalty, man,
Yeah.
they stepped in day one and said, "I'm brand blue. I'm gonna beat up my friend on red." Like
Yeah.
it's I remember this is so much better when it was bragging rights, and they actually had said, if you win, you get like this extra bonus check or whatnot.
You
That
should
made
get
it
the
better,
WrestleMania main event. I mean, I think that's what it was at one point.
right?
Whose ever brand wins gets the WrestleMania main event. But I just liked it when it was a heel team versus a face team, old school
Mhm.
Survivor Series.
Right.
And, it makes sense that Rollins is with the Usos in this match. You could even do a Survivor Series bloodline team where
Mhm.
Seth Rollins fits in perfectly because he has so much history with Roman Reigns.
Yeah, they always like to tease, and I think it was sort of a tease because it was the 9-year anniversary of the debut of the Shield. So I think maybe they're trying to play off that as well. But here's the thing: one week Randy Orton is fighting Omos, and then the next week he's fighting for Team Raw. It just doesn't make any sense.
And Orton is still, lecturing Riddle. You don't help
Mhm.
people. The only thing important is Randy Orton loves these tag belts so much that that he doesn't want Riddle to jeopardize them. Randy Orton doesn't care about these tag team belts.
Randy Orton his character for so long has been built on taking out legends, becoming champion, and sort of becoming obsessed with that championship belt. And he's always been so flippant when it's come to secondary titles outside when he got that push after the IC run. But we just know the character so well that we're not buying into it, and it's just making this whole thing fall even flatter.
Yeah. Although I do love Riddle with Orton, especially there was some backstage stuff with Riddle and the Street Profits. He's I don't know. He's a good character, I think. So
Yeah, I just think they don't know what to do with these guys.
yeah, so this 6-man ends with the Usos and Rollins getting the
Mhm.
victory with the dreaded roll up.
The most over move in all of wrestling.
Yep. Next up, we get Bianca Belair versus Tamina because Tamina's a big girl and she's on Dewdrop's side.
Tamina has officially slid into the Nia Jax role. You know
How
what I
is
mean?
Tamina
It's
still
just,
on the roster?
I don't know. This is where I think, well, we're in an industry where you either have to be good at what you do, right? Hit deadlines, or people just genuinely like you. Tamina must be in that category of they must just genuinely like her, that they saw Nia Jax and the headache that she was and the lack of
Yeah.
improvement, where they just said, you know what, if we're gonna keep a bigger girl spot, it's gonna be Tamina.
And there's a lot of history with Vince McMahon and Jimmy Snuka, going back to, there's allegations that Vince
Mhm.
is the reason that Snuka didn't go to jail in the first place back in the 80s with that supposed murder, which is even crazy to talk about. It's like that storyline's better than the storylines on wrestling.
This is where we need an episode of Dark Side of the Ring to get
Oh,
more
I'm sure it's
into the
coming.
Jimmy Snuka stuff.
Although no one will talk to Dark Side of the Ring now.
No.
So we get Bianca Belair versus Tamina. No surprise here. Bianca Belair gets the victory. She counters the dreaded Samoan drop and hits the KOD for the win.
The dreaded Samoan drop.
Next up, this is where we get that backstage segment I was talking about with the Street Profits and Riddle, as the Street Profits were on the way to the ring. They have a match with the Alpha Academy, who I've really been enjoying a lot. I don't know. I see a lot in them. I love, I don't know. I just think Chad Gable deserves so much more than what he's been getting. But hey, at least he's not Shorty G anymore.
Who thought that it would be near at the end of 2021 and we'd be saying we're more interested and entertained in a tag team with Otis and Shorty G, right, as compared to the Street Profits? But that's just how poorly the Street Profits have been booked. And it got me thinking, Mark, like when Edge and Christian broke up, I was devastated, and I was like, oh, they don't care about tag team wrestling. But the more I look back on it, the more I realize that only certain tag teams have a shelf life more than 7 years. When you see one star is obviously way above the other. Like we always saw Edge above Christian, right? But now we see Montez Ford way above Angelo Dawkins, right? It's not like where Cash and Wheeler are on the, the Hardwood and Wheeler are on the same team.
Yeah, no, the sand in the hourglass is running out for the Street Profits, and they don't survive another draft.
No, they don't. I hope they don't survive halfway to the draft.
And Angelo Dawkins, I don't see. Yeah, who knows? Maybe he has this killer character up his sleeve that he's just waiting to unleash on everyone.
Well, he'll just be the next Tucker, unfortunately.
Oh man, don't say that. Did you hear Kurt Angle said he'd come back to WWE to be Chad Gable and Otis's manager if they wanted him?
Angle's head is so far up Vince McMahon's butt that I think he just wants to do anything for the man.
I think he thinks the world of Chad Gable too. Chad Gable is who he wanted to be his son.
Now think about if instead of Jordan it was him.
Yeah.
Think about how that could have gone.
That's what they need. They need on the network a what if, where they explore an alternate timeline where things played out differently.
It could be all animated and stuff.
Yeah. I definitely watch it.
Peacock Network.
Yep.
If you're watching,
hit us up. We got plenty of ideas. Next up, we get Nikki Almost a Superhero versus Queen Zelina. We get a couple of matches here, because then afterwards we get Rhea Ripley versus Carmella, and apparently Queen Zelina and Carmella are the next challengers for the women's tag titles.
Are the women's tag titles, are they gonna go away soon, you think?
More worthless than Impact's Digital Media Championship.
Yeah, it's I think when they botched it with the Iconics.
Yeah.
I think that's what really, and then teams, and then like the horsewomen were like, give them the straps, right? The last time it was good when it was Sasha and Bayley. These were the last time I cared about the women's tag team champions. It's just because the more they give you, these two who work together are against these two bad guys who work together for the belts, it just doesn't have the same, these are two mix and match teams facing each other, which just diminish the, the prestige of the belt.
This segment is what the definition 50-50 booking was created for. You get Zelina winning the first match, but then Rhea defeats Carmella in the second match. Absolutely pointless.
It's terrible. It's just for us to be like, oh, these two teams have a weak link. What happens if the one goes against the one?
All right. Then we move on to Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor. And this is all built on no one believes KO. But I'm really enjoying heel KO. And he gets the victory over Finn Balor.
So This match was awesome. These two guys have been awesome since they've been feuding against each other in NXT up until the main roster. We haven't really gotten this feud really on the main roster before. So we never really get to see Balor versus Owens since those few times in NXT. Is this a way to try to keep Owens? This little mini push?
I think so. Yeah, they're like saying, "Hey, this is how it could always be. Don't
Mm-hmm.
fall for it, KO."
Right. And I think that's why Balor was coming off a huge, feud against Roman, and he's just been jobbed out. And I think he's been jobbed out for KO.
Mark Clark, he asked, when is KO's contract up? I believe it's up in December.
Yeah, December 31st. So as soon
Yeah.
as June 1st hits, he's a free agent.
So I don't know if this is a good comparison or not, but do you remember when Dolph Ziggler got that big push out of nowhere where it should have been me, Kofi, and he's all of a sudden in the main event picture? Was this when
Yes.
Dolph re-signed?
Yeah, it was immediately right after he re-signed, or right.
Yeah.
It was right in the middle of that.
Yeah.
So who knows? You gotta do what CM Punk did. Don't resign, win the championship, and then wait till they come back to you.
Speaking of Dolph Ziggler, next we get the Dirty Dogs versus AJ Styles and Omos. Are Styles and Omos baby faces? I feel like the fans are behind them. The fans love a giant.
How
can you not love AJ Styles? He's the best in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
I think what they've done a really good job with Omos and AJ is that they don't do, heel things to good guys, and they don't do face things to bad guys. They do their shtick to whether they're facing, a heel or a face, and they've been really consistent. And I think that's what wrestling is today. You have your obvious good guys and bad guys, but when you're just an act and you're not really feuding with anyone, if you just stay the course, they're going to pick a side for you, and it's going to be genuine. I think they just realize, you know what? They do the same thing with everybody. Let's just root for them.
Yeah, I find it really weird that AJ is in the tag division. He should be in the main event picture with Omos as his heater. But if they want to keep him in the tag division, team him up with Finn Balor. Finn Balor's not doing anything. And him and AJ have that history with the Bullet Club. And you have Omos as their big heater. I mean, Finn Balor could come down to ringside on Omos's shoulders.
But they had him. They had all four guys at the same time.
And they always teased it.
And they never pulled the trigger. And they wonder why Adam Cole left.
Imagine when you had Finn back in NXT. You could have lent AJ and the Good Brothers out to NXT and did War Games, Undisputed Era versus the Bullet Club. How amazing would that have been?
Hey, well, we may be getting it.
You are correct. Just in the form of the Elite versus Undisputed Era.
Right.
All right. So AJ and Omos get the victory. No surprise there. You're not going to defeat a giant. Next up, this was the main event. So Adam Pearce tells Rey Mysterio that basically, well, he's getting a match against Lashley, so he can get his revenge for Lashley beating up Dominic and taking his place on the Raw team. And Lashley destroys him, and this is absolutely fantastic. Adam Pearce then comes out and says, he has to have Team Raw's best interests in mind, and he's replacing Rey Mysterio on the team. But who is he replacing him with? Who we said last week is he should be on the team. The hottest rising superstar in WWE, Austin Theory, who comes out to the ring and takes that selfie of Rey on the ground.
Austin Theory is the absolute best, shit heel in the business. We know MJF is the biggest, MF and heel, but He is so like smarmy, and he does it so well, and that I couldn't help but just break out in laughter because it's exactly what we wanted. And this is and just to say I have the best in mind, and you bring in Austin Theory, that he's gonna be. He's either going to be the first one eliminated in the match, or he's going to be like the longest survivor.
Yeah, you know what this tells me? Bruce Pritchard's watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's up, Bruce? So that'll do it for Raw. I mean, it wasn't that ending was the highlight for me, but I don't think it was absolutely terrible show.
No, Raw's doing something really good right now, and that's they're giving you really good matches to make up for their lack of really good stories, and the few stories they do have are actually pretty decent.
Yeah. So let's move over to NXT, our favorite show to talk about, and we start off right in the ring with Dexter Loomis versus he who shall not be named, but I guess we'll have to name him just so people know who we're talking about.
Yeah, and so the people at the Cinemark know that we cover NXT.
Oh my gosh,
because these guys were marks for Tony D'Angelo.
I've never been so disgusted with wrestling fans in my entire life.
Luckily, when they started to talk about, hey, when did you start watching wrestling? The one guy says, I didn't start watching wrestling until, just until CM Punk joined in again. He goes, I thought he was cool a little bit in the WWE, but I didn't watch the WWE. And then you heard another guy say, I started watching in like 2013, and I realized, oh, thank God, the wrestling pure fans are have the same thought.
Yeah. So Dexter Loomis versus Tony D'Angelo. Dexter Loomis drew a caricature of Tony sleeping with the fishes. If only art imitated life.
Right.
But Tony D'Angelo gets the victory.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about. The new blood is taking away our NXT favorites.
And then you just saw when Johnny Gargano challenged, right, Mello for the North American title. You just know here's another guy that's going to lose.
Yep, absolutely. So that takes us to a backstage segment with Diamond Mine. With my favorite, who shows up and talks with Diamond Mine, Joe Gacy. What's going on here?
I think they're really starting to put, they finally said, you know what, Diamond Mine is going to be a face team. You know what I mean? Up until this point, they haven't had a side, and I think just by bringing Gacy in, it's going to be good stuff because you're going to be able to get Gunner. You're going to be able, to take on the tag team for Diamond Mine. You're going to get Roddy versus Gacy. It's going to be a cool little feud. And I think it's nice putting, that line in the sand that says, all right, Diamond Mine is officially going to be face, and Joe Gacy is going to officially enter that heel territory.
I love it. It's my two favorite acts in NXT right now. We don't even count Braun Breaker because that guy's already he's already touring with the main brand.
Yeah.
So we get a match: Diamond Mine, Brutus Creed, Julius Creed, and Roddy Strong versus Jacket Time. That's Jiro and Kushida and Odyssey Jones in 6-man action. We already talked about poor Kushida. But Jacket Time and Odyssey Jones surprisingly gets the win by pinfall. This makes no sense. Roddy's cruiserweight champ, and he's in a feud with Odyssey Jones.
Right.
This isn't the X Division title where there's no weight limits.
Right. When we were on our toy hunt, right, we were listening, AJ Styles said, it's not, a weight limit. It's like a talent limit, which is, cool little push of the belt. And here you're just like, this is a cruiserweight.
Is a weight limit.
It is a weight limit. And I'm looking at Odyssey Jones, and I can tell you right now, son, he is a big boy.
Yeah. So, it just occurred to me with Roddy, the cruiserweight champ. I haven't watched 205 Live in forever. Is Diamond Mine actually on that show since he's the champ?
I don't think so. I just think it's a title that just gets defended on NXT.
Yeah, it's 205 Live is just a show that's going to go away soon, I believe.
Right.
All right. So next up, we get this weird. The grizzled young vets are walking backstage with the women's tag team titles. What's going on here?
I don't know if they are. I don't know. Here's my theory. There's going to be a man who comes in, right, to try to stand up for toxic attraction, and then that's going to turn into a storyline. It's just me throwing it out there, and they'll be like, we don't need no man, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Just like I don't know what's going on with these MSK Rascals vignettes, where they're going somewhere. Where are they going? Are they going to the main roster?
I don't think, this feels very much like the Sunny Kiss Joey Janela promos.
Where they went nowhere.
I think that's the destination. I just think it's, what, they signed these guys and they were champions, and they don't want people to forget them, but they don't want them to be put in matches either because they got nothing for them. That they're just driving somewhere.
Mark Clark says Toxic Attraction sucks. If they eventually get released, their road trip should just end on AEW Dark, where they meet up with Joey Janela and Sunny Kiss. It's like two cars collide and you get a match.
It's a fender bender.
Yeah. Although Joey Janela is in great shape, by the way. He's not with Sunny Kiss anymore. So maybe a Joey Janela little singles push is coming our way. On probably on GCW though.
Yeah, no. Maybe on Dark or Elevation.
Yeah. So next up, I would say this guy is our least favorite person in NXT. Although, do we hate him more than Tony D'Angelo? And I'm talking about Andre Chase.
You know what? I don't hate him more than Tony D'Angelo because I think Andre Chase is stuck with a really bad gimmick, and at least he has a character and he seems to work in that character. Whereas
he had
Tony
some
D'Angelo,
students in the stands this week, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, which Tony D'Angelo brings nothing besides
except
guys.
a stereotype, like a terrible old stereotype gimmick.
Right.
So we get Andre Chase versus Zion Quinn, and of course Zion Quinn gets the victory. So Zion Quinn has caught the eye of Elektra from whatever Phantasma's group.
Yes.
And this
Legado del Fantasma.
Yeah. And afterwards, you got Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza attack him, and Santos Escobar shows up and blindsides him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. I'm buying into this Romeo and Juliet storyline. Why not?
Yeah, they're going to beat him up until he accepts this beautiful woman's advances.
Oh God, this is what NXT's become. It's just hitting right now.
I think Elektra Lopez eventually is going to turn face and stop them from beating him up. Although, I mean, they built this guy. I mean, dancing aside, they built him up to be kind of a badass.
Yeah.
So I don't really think these guys are going to be much of a struggle for him.
I think he'll be like, I love you, but I can't beat up, but I have to beat up your family. It's sort of that sort of deal.
Yeah. I don't know. That's not a bad storyline.
Hey, Pritchard, if you're watching, let's see it unfold.
Yeah. More of this Romeo and Juliet stuff. Speaking of bad storylines, though, Cameron Grimes versus Duke Hudson in a poker showdown. We're supposed to believe Duke Hudson is this, great poker player. Why? Because we've seen him sitting at a poker table. A poker player because he sits at a poker table. Like,
no, it's because he's got no shirt,
ugh.
but a vest and sunglasses, and his sunglasses hang off his chain.
Yeah, terrible. So in the middle of the ring, we get a poker match, a poker game.
Right.
That Cameron Grimes wins because he basically outbluffs. I already forgot his name, Duke Hudson.
Right.
This is terrible.
I mean, and then we get, what is it with wrestling and cutting people's hair off?
You know what? Vince probably saw Cameron Grimes and said, "This guy looks like a caveman. Clean him up."
Yes.
They should have just made him a caveman. He could have been Encino Man.
Oh God.
The Neanderthal Cameron Grimes.
Oh God, we've really gone off the rails.
They want characters.
This is why we get wrestling fans at the Cinemark. Like, we get wrestling fans at the Cinemark when they try to push this stuff as cool.
So Nicholas Gear, he asked, whatever happened to Global Force? So Global Force was Jeff Jarrett's company after he left Impact. They did some tapings for a proposed TV show. They worked with the producer of Survivor, I believe.
Right.
And they had a lot of talent on those shows. They had like the Good Brothers before they signed with WWE. They had Robert Roode, EY, and nothing ever happened. Jeff Jarrett came back to Impact. They had like a little cross promotion feud, and Global Force and Jeff Jarrett, they were going to buy Impact.
And then didn't Anthem end up buying them?
Yeah. So Impact, Anthem bought all of it, and then I think it fell apart where one week Impact was like global, and then it went back to Impact, and Jarrett and Global Force was gone, and then Global Force was just selling gold bars on their website, and then Jeff Jarrett went back to WWE as a producer and went in the Hall of Fame. And then he got released, and now he's doing a podcast with Conrad Thompson. And I think Global Force is just a dead brand.
Right.
Yeah. Mike McMahon says Cameron Grimes could be WWE's version of Jungle Boy.
Oh, that's
minus the good looks,
the in-ring ability, the charisma, the talent.
Cameron Grimes is a good worker. All right. Tag team time. Briggs and Jensen versus
SmackDown superstar Von Wagner
and Kyle O'Reilly. And Kyle O'Reilly giving Von Wagner a little attitude earlier in the show, saying, "Oh, if it isn't Adam Pearce's bodyguard." The dissension starts.
I didn't think they were going to mention it. Did you just think they were just going to totally ignore it?
I thought they were just going to ignore it.
I'm glad they mentioned it. I'm glad. I mean, this clearly ends with O'Reilly getting his ass kicked.
Getting thrown right out the door and given a ticket to AEW.
We wish you best on your future endeavors. And it's like the Jacksonville.
He'll be sitting in the front row where Tony Nese was sitting a couple weeks ago.
Hey, guys.
So O'Reilly and Wagner get the victory by pinfall with that butterfly neck breaker from Von Wagner. Brooks Jensen, and I want to call him Brooks and Dunn, but it's Briggs and Jensen. They're already, they debuted and they're already sort of going nowhere.
Doesn't this feel like 2.0 when they sign these guys and you think they're gonna do something with them, and then all of a sudden they become jobbers and released.
Well, I think they realized after that first appearance, there's nothing there.
Right, right. I mean, I honestly appreciate this sink or swim environment that NXT is. If it really is a developmental, right, they're really just letting you go out there and see if you connect. And if you don't connect, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're just throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks.
Right.
Someone who apparently has stuck is Grayson Waller, because this guy is on every week and I can't stand him. This guy has a worse gimmick than Duke Hudson.
Yeah.
He's a boxer, but I think, was he a reality star? I think
you know what?
that up.
Let's go
week.
see. Let me go see.
But poor LA Knight. This guy deserves so much more. He deserves to be on the main roster. He deserves he deserves a better name than LA Knight.
Yes. It's the same old story, same old song and dance where they take a guy who's really good in Impact and they just totally drop the ball on him.
Yeah. LA Knight, he even lost his LA Knight thing. Britt Baker stole that from him. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he hasn't been on anything. He's just a pro wrestler.
Well, I don't like him. Mark Clark says, I have as much interest in this new NXT as I did when they were making Daniel Bryan chug soda. Yeah, it's that version of NXT was actually more entertaining than this version.
What do you remember what Ryback's name was when
Skip
he was
Sheffield?
Hot damn. There we go.
He was the cornbread meathead.
Right.
Yeah. Oh boy. Next up, Persia Parada takes on a couple female wrestlers in a handicap match because Indy Hartwell is checking on her husband and can't be at the match. And Robert Stone is out there scouting some talent, but Persia Parada gets the victory.
Yeah, it's again, I appreciate what they're doing, trying to build up solo stars. I don't know if those are the right stars though.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get excited for NXT anymore when it comes to talent, because if they're no longer signing indie records, we can no longer watch the indies or say, oh, I saw this guy come up. It's not like an Anthony Bowens, who you and I have watched at WrestlePro for years, him show up on AEW and you go, oh, good for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, we don't get that excitement or genuine, good feeling
We're
for
not
these people
invested
anymore. Right. Absolutely.
Next up, we get a hype reel of Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter. And they're at a rave. They just like to have fun.
Imagine
that's the depth of their character.
Yeah, it really is. There's nothing to it. Like, I feel like they just shoot vignettes and be like, all right, this will get them on for a week and let's see if we can figure something out before the next time we have to tape something with them.
Then we get Tommaso Ciampa comes out, mic in hand, and he's interrupted by Braun Breaker, and he wants that title, and he's going to get it. He's going to steamroll Tommaso Ciampa next opportunity he gets, and I believe him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why they didn't do it the first time.
Yeah, it seems kind of dumb.
And he had a Steiner math reference this week.
Guy's a superstar.
Yeah, he is. He knows when to. He's such a natural on the mic, right? That you forget how green he actually is in the ring, and then when he does really good stuff in the ring, all you see is potential. He's like the reverse Braun Strowman in the fact that we like this guy so much that we want to see him grow and be along for this ride. It's like I said, they haven't had this type of guy since The Rock. And I'm not saying he's ever going to be The Rock or Dwayne Johnson, because no one's ever that, but the same organic build where we're seeing this guy.
Yeah. Nope. He has superstar written all over him. Next up, we get Dakota Kai versus the American Badass Raquel Gonzalez. No motorcycle this week. I'm disappointed.
They can only rent it for so long. They're on a tight budget here.
Yeah.
Don't you know all the people they fired for Raquel Gonzalez's motorcycle runs?
Yeah. Toxic Attraction. They get involved and the match ends in DQ. Then you get Zoe Stark coming out on a crutch, and Toxic Attraction's like, bring it on. But Io Shirai comes out, takes the crutch, and beats on Toxic Attraction. And that's how we go off the air. I felt like I was beaten with a crutch as I watched this episode.
And they're like, so I guess this is setting up for War Games, this team.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe the War Games. When is that? Because this is almost booked as poorly as Survivor Series.
First
week of December, I think.
Yep. Yes, it is. A couple weeks.
And that's just a regular episode of NXT, isn't it?
Right. It's they no longer do pay-per-view, longer the takeover.
There is nothing special about NXT, with the exception of Braun Breaker. Yeah.
Right. And even we're saying go to the main roster.
Yeah. Oh, Phil, I think you're starting to break up a little bit, but that's okay, because we're
really
about to...
Yeah, my iPad's really.
That's all right.
My iPad's really breaking up. I'll be glad to get my computer back this week.
Yeah. So, Phil, before we lose you,
here you go.
Tell everyone where they can find you.
On Instagram and Twitter at @AnimatedPhil. Etsy link down below. Help me pay for my computer bills. See you guys.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Coney Waves. Make sure you subscribe to Primetime Poulton, hit the notifications, and go check out US Assassin. We are closing the store probably in a couple weeks once Mike gets here to sign the books, which arrive next week. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. And Phil and I will be back Sunday to talk AEW and Impact. Later.